What is that?
This is a electronic signature card for the account of the JP Chase Morgan, the 0769 account.
What is the significance of that account to your investigation?
So we learned that this account was an everyday account that both Charles and Lori utilized while living in Arizona. And we know that with this account is specifically interacts with Tylee's joint account when they're moving monies, transferring monies from account to account.
All right. Can you look at States Exhibit 63B? Do you know what that document is?
This is a sample monthly statement, sample of monthly statements from the 0769 account dating from June 10th through September, I believe, of 2019.
And this is the account ending in 0769, correct?
Correct.
And did you review all the documents that came in with that?
I did.
Mr. Wood, on that projector, there is actually a light that I think will remove the shadow. I can have staff attorney assist you with that if you'd like.
That'd be great. Thank you. Are there regular deposits into that account?
There's no regular deposits into this account. They're sporadic at times. They're coming in, monies are being transferred into this account from the 0377 account. But as far as having like a regular paycheck, having a direct deposit or something to that effect, there's nothing on like that on these accounts.
And just to clarify, this was at the jointly held account by Lori Vallow and Charles Vallow, correct?
Correct.
Detective, can you pull out what's been marked as States Exhibit 63C? What is that document?
This is the signature card on the application for the account, joint account for Lori Vallow and Tylee Ryan, the account that ends in 3918.
And this is a Chase
Morgan
account. And can you pull out what's been marked as 63D? What is that?
This is a sampling of monthly statements from Tylee's account from January of 2019 through, I believe, November of 2019 or October 2019.
Okay. And was there anything significant about this document to you in your investigation?
Yes, it shows Tylee is very active on this account. She is spending money with her. She is receiving death benefit stipends in this account from her father, Joe Ryan, who passed away April 3rd of 2018. So Tylee was receiving death benefits, and the death benefits were regularly deposited into this account. And Tylee was very active in this account.
When you say active,
Well, she was out spending money almost on a daily basis. She was going to convenience stores, gas stations, shopping centers, fast food.
and you stated this is the account she was receiving her Social Security payments in.
Correct.
And were those monthly?
They were, they appeared towards the end of the month. Since she first started receiving her benefits June 14th of 2018, and they were regularly occurring into this account.
And do you know how much she received?
In 2019, she was receiving $1,859 a month.
Detective, as you go through these records, are you able to tell the difference between what I'm going to call a brick and mortar payment or store, like a physical location, and online payments?
Yes. Tylee, the overwhelming majority of her spending habits occur in brick and mortar type establishments. And there are some online payments, but she's out spending money in physical places.
Detective, can you look at State's Exhibit 63E? What is that document?
This is the partial monthly statement showing from August 23 of 2019 through September 3rd of 2019 for Tylee's 3918 Chase Morgan account.
And what is the significance of that document to your investigation?
Well, it still shows through August, she is out actively spending money. And it also shows towards the end of the month. We look up on the screen here. So she's really active coming through here. And then when you get towards the 1st of September, and these, I just want to make a clarification here on this outside row. That's the posting date. Inside on the statement, you'll see a date of 9/1. So it shows Tylee moving from Arizona, heading north. And this is the same time frame when they were moving to Idaho. And when you get down to the bottom of the page here, it shows that her last in-person use of a card was done in St. George, Utah on the 1st. There were 2 purchases at a McDonald's that day.
And is St. George between
Oh, sorry.
Rexburg and Maricopa County?
Yes, I'm sorry for those that take it for granted. I'm sorry. St. George is one of the first cities you come to in Utah when you come up north out of Arizona as you're heading towards Idaho.
Was there any record of any money being deposited into that account after that date shown, the last date shown on that record?
No. So we had learned that in the middle of August, I believe it was August 16th, Lori, Tylee's mom, had contacted Social Security and had stopped having the monthly stipends deposited into Tylee's account. And she then switched those monies to be deposited into her own personal account, Lori's personal account from the BBVA. So there were no more funds coming into this account at all.
Detective, can you look at what's been marked as State's Exhibit 63F? What is that document?
This is the checking summary for the date of September 20th, 2019 for Tylee's JP Chase account. And it's showing a $10.04 balance, and then it shows right underneath on the beginning balance, it has an electronic withdrawal for the same $10.04, bringing the ending balance to zero.
Does it show where that money was transferred to?
That money was transferred into Lori's 0769 account from the JB Chase.
Was there anything significant about that transaction to you in your investigation?
Yes, Tylee had no more control over her monies in this account. And with the timeline that we had learned in this investigation of Tylee's last known sighting was between September 8th and September 9th. Lori had closed out this account there was no more use for it.
Detective, can you look at what's been marked as State's Exhibit 63G? And what is that document?
This would be it's an online administration tool for people who bank with JP Chase Morgan. They're issued a personal identification number, and they're allowed to go online and they can conduct their transactions. And this is the page that indicates for Lori Vallow. It sets up with her personal PIN number on Tylee's account. It shows that she can access Tylee's account.
And so did she and Tylee have separate identifying numbers?
They did.
Are they on that page?
They are. So if you look down to the middle of the page, well, we know it's Lori because she says Lori for style at iCloud.com right here. And it has Lori's name up here. But right here under personal ID and profile ID, it has a number. And the last four numbers on that are the 5132. So that's the number that's associated with Lori.
And is there a profile number for Tylee Ryan?
There is.
Can you point that out?
So if you were to go 2 more pages into this document, you'll see Tylee's name is highlighted up on top, and it has Tylee's email right there, Tylee Ryan 24 at Gmail. And if you go down to the profile ID just underneath that, it has a number right here. And the last 4 on those are 0212.
And Detective, what's the significance of those identifying numbers? Does it aid you in your investigation to know those?
Sure, it's specific to the user. So we have a general idea that it's the person who's logging in is using it, and it leaves a digital footprint so you can see where they're going and what they're doing within the banking of their account.
So if Lori Vallow were to go online and make a change to that account, it would show that it was her by her identifying number. Is that accurate?
Yes.
And is the same accurate if Tylee Ryan were to go online and make a change? It would show her identifying number.
Yes.
Thank you.
If you were to go to the next page, this page here is dated September 20th. And as we previously spoke to the account closing on the 20th of September, if you could bring your, let's see. Okay, we're getting right. No, bring it down just a little bit, please. There you go. Thank you. You'll see the profile ID number up here, the 5132, that's associated with Lori Vallow. And if you look to the bottom of the document, you'll see here on the left-hand side of the screen, you see the high school checking account belonging to Tylee, the 3918, and you see monies being transferred to, and here's the $10.04 that just shows that Lori went in and accessed Tylee's account and then moved monies over into her 0769 account, making it a zero balance.
And so just to clarify, Detective, you're able to verify that it was Lori that made that transaction by that identifying number.
Correct.
All right. And what was that date again?
September 20th of 2019.
Detective, can you look at what's been marked as State's Exhibit 63H?
This is a checking summary showing a zero balance on Tylee Ryan's 3918 JP Chase Bank.
And what's the date on that? Or I should say, is there a date on that?
I'm not seeing a date on it, but it would be for anything after September 20th.
All right. And can you look at what's been marked as State's Exhibit 63I?
'63I is a signature card application page for JP Chase Morgan account for Charles Vallow and Lori Vallow for the 0377 account.
And did you obtain that through a warrant or subpoena?
I did.
Did you provide that to any other law enforcement agency to review?
I did. I have some knowledge of this account, but the primary reviewer of this account was Michael Douglas, FBI forensic accountant.
All right. Detective, can you look at what's been marked as State's Exhibit 64A? Oh, bailiff, I apologize. This was the first page to 63. And Your Honor, I would just note for the record that State's Exhibit 64 is a business records affidavit, and that this document has subparts 64A through C. And to the state's understanding, this document comes in by way of stipulation.
All right, so 64 is admitted and 64 A, B, and C are also all admitted.
All right.
And they may be published, Mr. Wood.
Thank you. Detective, what are the documents from State's, excuse me, Exhibit 64?
These are summary of accounts for the BBVA Compass account ending in 3229 for Lori Vallow. It's a checking account that was opened in October of 2018.
Is Lori Vallow the sole user on this account?
She is.
And I believe you just said it was opened in October of 2018?
Correct. I believe the 20th.
And did you obtain this through a search warrant or through a subpoena?
I did.
And what was the significance of this account to your investigation?
Well, we learned through this account that this would be one of Lori's main accounts where she would be receiving future Social Security monies. We know that Tylee's monthly stipend was being deposited into this account and would later receive stipends for death benefits for Charles Vallow as well, for both her and JJ.
And can you look at 64B? And what is that?
This is a sample portion of monthly statements for Lori's 3229 BBVA account from August of 2019 through, I believe, January of 2020.
Detective, I want to call your attention to a deposit made on August 28th. Can you see that?
I can.
And what was that deposit? And if you can use a pointer to point it out to the jury.
So just below mid-page on the screen here, we see a credit for Social Security Treasury deposit for $1,859. This account this deposit is associated to Tylee Ryan. And we know from when multiple deposits are made into a banking account from Social Security, so if there's more than one person receiving monies, they're given special identifiers so you can see which deposits belong to which person. So if we look here at Tylee's, you see the reference and it has the X's, and then we see the 4121C1. So the 4121 is the last four numbers of Joe Ryan's Social Security number. His Social Security number is 146604121. And then the C1 is just it's a designated identifier for child. So it'd be Tylee being a child, a minor under 18, receiving death benefits from her biological father.
And that was the Joe Ryan.
Joe Ryan, correct.
Who you testified was deceased.
He was deceased. He died on April 3rd in 2018.
And so that's how you're able to identify that payment is assigned to Tylee Ryan, even though it's going into Lori Vallow's account at this point.
Correct.
And from your investigation, is this the first deposit of Social Security benefits for Tylee Ryan into this account?
Yes, this is the first deposit.
And where was Tylee Ryan receiving her Social Security benefits before that?
As stated, she was previously receiving them in her JP Chase account, which her mother has since closed out.
And again, what was the date of that deposit?
This was on August 28th of 2019.
And was there anything significant about that to you, about that date?
We learned that our investigation, we believe that Tylee was killed 10 days later.
I'm going to call your attention to a deposit made. It's on the third page of that document. A deposit made on September 18th. Are you able to locate that?
I am.
Can you, with your pointer, identify the deposits made on September 18th?
Yes, so there's two deposits made on that day. One in the amount of $3,902 and the second for $4,157. And you see them here towards the bottom of the page right here. They were deposits from the Social Security Administration, Treasury Department. As you see the X's here, you have a different last four number of the 9801, and then you have a C1. And then on the next line down, you have the 9801E. So we can differentiate what deposit belongs to by looking at this top one here. We have the 9801. So Charles Vallow's Social Security number was 436029801. And we see the C1, so that would be for JJ. And that's the monies that were received. So we have and the next one down, we know it's for Lori because we have the 9801, but the letter E is just an identifier saying that she is the child in care or the guardian.
All right. And are those amounts, are those the regular monthly payments?
These are not. These are the initial installments that she received back pay for both when she generated her paperwork back in August.
And Detective, was there anything significant about that deposit date to you? What is that?
JJ was killed a few days later. Around the 22nd or 23rd.
Detective, you mentioned earlier that this account, this BBVA account, ending in 3229, received from August on all of the Social Security payments.
Yes,
And did you review this document for those payments?
I did.
Detective, did you prepare a chart, a demonstrative chart that shows all of Tylee Ryan's Social Security deposits?
I did.
Does that include both the JP Morgan account and BBVA account payments?
Yes,
Did you do that to aid this jury in understanding where and when those payments were made?
yes,
Does it label the banks to which the deposits were made?
it does.
And did you prepare that in anticipation of testifying today?
I did.
Do you believe it would aid the jury in understanding the deposit history for Tylee Ryan's Social Security? Detective, can you look at State's Exhibit 84? Is that the document that we have been speaking about?
Yes,
And is that a true and accurate representation of the demonstrative chart you created?
yes,
Your Honor, I'd ask that for demonstrative purposes that State's Exhibit 84 be entered into evidence.
Any objection? All right, Exhibit 84 is admitted.
May I publish?
You may.
Detective, can you walk the jury through that chart?
sure. This chart depicts Tylee Ryan's Social Security benefits. It's the history of her timeline. So they're up in the upper left-hand corner. There's 3 different colors on this legend. So the first one, the purple colored, it's a Social Security benefit, was deposited into the joint JP Chase Morgan. So this was Tylee's first account, the 3918. And then we have on the second one, we have the benefit amount deposited into Lori's own personal account after we believe Tylee was killed. And then we have one that has some hash marks on it, and that shows that it was deposited for that month. But since Tylee was alive, we discount both those months, but they're just showing that deposits were made.
All right. And are there other dates on that chart?
Yeah, so on the first line, we have the date of 4/3/18. That's when Joe Ryan, Tylee's father, died. And then Tylee begins receiving benefits on the 14th of June. You see the large sum there. It's for her back pay, for lack of a better analysis. And then she starts receiving regular deposits of $1,800. And then when 2019 comes around, she gets a percentage increase. So that's why it's at $1,859. And then as we go towards the end of the middle, we see on the screen here on July 11th of 2019, this is the day that Charles Vallow was killed. And then the deposits keep going. And then on the 12th, Lori contacted the Social Security Administration to change Tylee's benefits. I think earlier I stated the 16th, but it was the 12th, so I stand corrected on that. The deposits for Tylee into the BBVA account now, since she's no longer receiving them in the JP Morgan. And you see here on the 8th, that's the last proof of life we have for Tylee. We have nothing in our investigation has shown that she is living after this date. And then after, for the month of October, Lori's receiving Tylee's benefits directly into her personal account. And then as you see here on the bottom line here, on June 9th, we find Tylee at the defendant Chad Daybell's property.
Detective, similar to that chart, did you make a chart for JJ Vallow's survivor benefits and Lori Vallow's mother, child, and care benefits?
I did.
Did you make that in preparation for testifying today?
Yes.
And did you rely on the banking documents that you reviewed in making that chart?
Yes.
Can you look at State's Exhibit 85? Is State's Exhibit 85 the document, the chart for JJ we've been speaking of?
Yes.
And did you create that in anticipation of testifying before the jury?
Yes.
You believe it would aid the jury in understanding these financial transactions?
Yes.
Your Honor, I would ask that for demonstrative purposes only, that State's Exhibit 85 be entered into evidence.
Very well. No objection. So Exhibit 85 is admitted.
And may I publish?
You may.
Detective, can you describe how you made that chart?
Yes. This is a chart depicting JJ's and Lori's or JJ's Social Security benefits that are going into Lori's BBVA account. Again, the legend on the upper left shows the benefit amount deposited for JJ. Underneath that, you see the color for the amount deposited for Lori. And then the hash mark box shows, but it's not included in the total amount of deposit because we believe JJ was alive for that month. So as we go through the chart here, as stated in July of 2011, I'm sorry, July 11th of 2019, Charles Vallow was killed in Arizona. Lori applies for benefits in August and starts receiving benefits in September. And this is their first deposit. And as stated earlier, this is not their regular deposit. It's for the back pay when she generated her paperwork to receive the benefits. And then very next box we see on 9/23, that's our last proof of life for JJ. And then you see the benefits being deposited in. They each were receiving $1,951 per month. So they received for September and then October. And then you look here on the last one, and then November 5th, this date is important to the investigation because that's the day that Lori Vallow became Mrs. Daybell and married Chad in Hawaii. JJ is still receiving benefits, as is Lori, all the way through to the end of the year and into January. And then the last box, we have the 9th when we found JJ on Mr. Daybell's property.
And Detective, all of those Social Security payments, was it your testimony, those went into Lori's sole BBVA account?
Correct. She had full control over it.
Detective, can you review or pull out State's Exhibit 65? And Your Honor, while he does that, State's 65 the Exhibit 65 itself is a business record affidavit with subparts A through D. Where this has a business records affidavit, State's understanding this comes in by way of stipulation.
Mr. Pryor, any objection to 65 and subparts A through D? All right, there is no objection then. Exhibit 65, the electronic business records affidavit is admitted. Exhibits 65A through D are also admitted.
Thank you. Detective, what is State's Exhibit 65 in general?
The entire exhibit is dealing with Tylee Ryan's joint account that her mother opened for both of them to share for the BBVA, and they did that in August 19th of 2019.
All right. And can you look specifically at 65A? Are you familiar with that?
Yes,
What is that document?
this is a summary of accounts. It's a signature page for the application for the account of Tylee Ryan that ends in the last four numbers of 5794. And both her and Lori are signers on it.
And that's through BBVA.
Correct.
When was this account opened?
The 19th of August 2019.
Can you look at State's Exhibit 65B? What is that?
This is a transaction history monthly statement of activity on Tylee's account for the BBVA.
And in your investigation, was there anything significant about this document?
Yeah, two things. So one, that Tylee was not receiving any more deposits into this account from Social Security where she was in JP Chase Morgan. So any deposits that come into this account are now coming from her mother through transactions within the bank. This particular page we see was created on 8/19, and for the first couple of days, as they are, traveling from Arizona on their move to Idaho, you see again where on out here we have the date of the transaction, but after these post dates of 9/3, it just shows that this card was used in person only 3 times. And that was during their move from Arizona to Idaho. They were at 3 different places. One was in Fillmore, Utah, which is in southern Utah. And it was used at a convenience store. There was one that was used at a Maverick in Perry, Utah. Again, I believe that's still southern Utah. And then there was one that was used in the Wickiup, Arizona. I'm not familiar with geographically where that city is located in Arizona, but it was used on that date. And from there, everything else that we've learned for this account was done online, with the exception of 2 more dates, one in September and one in October.
All right. Can you look at State's Exhibit 65C? And what is that document?
This is transaction history for Tylee's account, the 5794 BBVA from August 2019, I believe, through November of 2019. I'm sorry, it goes through January of 2020.
Okay. And earlier we spoke about on Tylee's JP Chase Morgan account about spending between brick and mortar stores and online payments. What's the general nature on this account?
This activity is completely opposite of what Tylee was using on her JP Chase account. All the activity on this account is done online, with the exception of 2 dates. And you'll see on, I believe, September 17th, there was a transaction where it was used in person at a Costa Vida Mexican restaurant. And then there was another in-person transaction on October 25th, I believe. That was, I'm sorry, October 7th. And we believe that Tylee did not make those purchases in person.
In the mic, please, Mr. Pryor.
Judge, I'm going to object to that characterization. It calls for speculation.
I'll sustain the last part of the response there, striking the believe Tylee did not make the purchases in person. There's no foundation for that, Mr. Wood.
All right, I'll lay some foundation. Thank you. Detective, through your investigation in this case, were you involved in the search for Tylee Ryan?
Yes.
And are you aware of, through that search, of a last known sighting of Tylee Ryan?
Last known sighting of Tylee Ryan, I believe, was a photograph where she was in Yellowstone on the 8th of September, 2019.
And so these purchases that were made after that date, what was significant about those to you in this investigation?
Just complete opposite of anything that Tylee was doing up until this point. Everything is done online in this account. The monies are coming in from Lori's account to her personal account. She would send money, make deposits into Tylee's account, and then those monies would immediately be Venmo'd out to, we learned, Colby Ryan, who is Lori's son.
And you spoke about two brick and mortar purchases,
Yes,
and I believe you said they were both at Costa Vida.
they're both at Costa Vida.
And ask you to look at States Exhibit 65D.
Okay.
And what is States Exhibit 65D?
States, the exhibit is a copy of the receipt that I obtained for a purchase with Tylee's account on the 17th of September of 2019.
Right.
It was an in-person purchase.
And on the third page is States Exhibit 65D. What is that?
This is a Costa Vida receipt dated October 7th, 2019, that was used with Tylee's card associated with this account for an in-person purchase.
And so to clarify, Tylee in that BBVA account, she never received Social Security payments there.
No.
Detective, can you look at States Exhibit 66? Do you recognize States Exhibit 66?
This is a affidavit of business records for Barclays Bank.
Okay. And Your Honor, for the record, this this exhibit does come in with a business records affidavit. It has subparts A through D. And with that business record, I believe it comes in by way of stipulation.
As to Exhibit 66, any objection?
And again, Judge, that was an agreement prior that this would be admitted by stipulation of the parties.
Okay, Exhibit 66 has been offered and is admitted, as well as the subparts 66A through D.
Thank you. Detective, do you recognize State's Exhibit 66A?
This is a Barclay Bank application for credit card. And it is in the name of Lori Vallow.
All right, is anyone else's name on there?
No,
Do you know when this was applied for?
the application date was September 24th of 2015.
And can you look at application 524-71125?
This is the application for Barclays Bank credit card for Charles Vallow. And the application date is the same as the previous.
All right, thank you. And then application 5566-2600, what is that?
This is Barclays Bank application for a credit card in the name of Lori Vallow. The application date was April 19th of 2016.
So this was a joint credit card application, is that fair to say?
Yes,
Can you look at State's Exhibit 66B? What is that?
this is a monthly statement of transactions activity for the Barclays credit card belonging to Lori and Charles Vallow.
In your investigation, was there anything significant about the information you found on this page?
Yes, two things stand out. On the second line down for June 12th, we see a credit card payment to Valley of the Sun Mortuary in Chandler, Arizona. And this is the day after, if you recall, Charles Vallow was killed on July 11th of 2019. And the second date is all down to the bottom of the page here. So on July 20th, we see an airline ticket purchase for Legion Air in the name of Chad Daybell. And the airfare was round trip from Provo, Utah. The PVU is the acronym for Provo. And the IWA is Phoenix Mesa. And then round trip back to Provo. I'm sorry.
Go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt.
You see on this page here too that you have purchase activity for Charles Vallow, and there is no transaction activity in July. And then you see that this card used by Lori Vallow that was issued to her, it was responsible for these transactions.
All right. And so the transaction for the payment for airfare for Chad Daybell was what date?
On July 21st, it was the purchase date. The July 20th was the post date.
And to your knowledge and investigation, was Chad Daybell married to Tammy Daybell at the time
He was.
that was purchased? Can you look at State's Exhibit 66C? And what is that document?
I have a Barclays MasterCard in the name of Alex Cox. And this is a monthly statement of transaction activity for this account.
And you had mentioned earlier that Alex had an account that he shared with his sister Lori. Is this that account?
It is.
How do you know that they shared it?
They each were assigned separate cards.
All right. Can you describe, or is there anything else of significance on this document to your investigation?
Yes, we have at the bottom of the page, we have airfare for Lori Vallow flying from Phoenix Mesa to Idaho Falls on a round trip, and that would be February 25th.
And is the Idaho Falls Airport the nearest airport to Chad Daybell's residence?
Yes.
Was there anything else of note on this page or this document?
No, on the next page.
Okay.
On this page, you're seeing purchases in the month of March on the Alexander Cox, Lori Vallow shared credit card account. You see purchase activity for Lori, and you see her card that ends in the number 5259. There are 3 purchases that she makes on this account that show that she bought airfare for Tylee Ryan and Tylee's friend Brianna Gill. And those purchases were made on March 13th, and they were round trip from Phoenix to LIH, which is, I believe it's pronounced Lahui, Hawaii, on the island of Kauai. And then directly under that, for March 14th, you see Lori using her card to pay for airfare for Chad Daybell, flying from Idaho Falls round trip to Phoenix Mesa and back to Idaho Falls.
And that was March 14th of,
2019.
and so Charles Vallow was still alive at that point, to your knowledge, correct?
Correct.
Did you find any indication that Charles Vallow had a card on this account?
He did not.
And then Detective, would you look at State's Exhibit 66D? What is that document?
This is the application for a Barclays credit card in the name of Alex Cox, dated 9/26 of 2016.
And was this associated with the account we were just speaking of?
Yes.
Okay. Is there anything of note on that document to your investigation?
Are you talking about just this particular page? Other
Just
than,
in that document, is it just the
it's just the account information for
account information?
Alex, yes.
Detective, can you look at State's Exhibit 67? And you're,
Sorry.
oh, I was gonna say, Your Honor, this Exhibit 67 has one subpart, just 67A, and it is, Exhibit 67 is a business record affidavit, so I believe this comes in by way of stipulation.
All right.
That's correct.
Very well. By stipulation, the parties Exhibit 67 and Exhibit 67A are both admitted.
All right. Detective, are you familiar with State's Exhibit 67A?
I have some knowledge of it. It's the account from First Hawaiian Bank for Lori Vallow.
And did you receive this through a warrant or subpoena?
I did.
Did you review this?
I was not the primary reviewer of this.
Did you provide this to another agency to review?
I did. I provided it to forensic accountant Michael Douglas of the FBI.
All right. Can you look at State's Exhibit 68? Do you have that?
Yes.
What is that?
This is a business record affidavit associated with Chrysler Capital Finance Company.
And Your Honor, this, again, State's Exhibit 68 is a business records affidavit, has one subpart 68A. I believe this comes in by way of stipulation.
That's correct, Judge.
All right, exhibit 68 and 68A are both admitted.
Detective, are you familiar with State's Exhibit 68?
I am.
Or 68A?
Yes.
What is it?
This is a application for credit through Chrysler Financial for a purchase. Charles Vallow made of a 2018 Jeep Wrangler that we associated with Tylee Ryan.
And are you familiar with the search for a Jeep in Rexburg, Idaho?
I am.
Is this that same Jeep?
It is.
Is there anything else in that document of note to your investigation?
Yes, that the payments would be made on automatic withdrawals through the account of Tylee Ryan's JP Chase account, the 3918 that she had her. This is the account that it had the stipends deposited into when she first opened that account.
Okay. Thank you. And Detective, can you look at State's Exhibit 82? And Your Honor, again, 82 is an affidavit of a records custodian. Has one subpart 82A. I believe it comes in by way of stipulation.
That is correct, Judge.
Okay, exhibit 82 and exhibit 82A are both admitted.
Detective, what is the document found in State's Exhibit 82A?
The document is a rental application in the name of Lori Vallow for 565 Pioneer Road, number 107, the Rock Creek Townhomes in Rexburg, Idaho.
And have you reviewed this document?
I have.
Was there anything of note to your investigation on that document?
Yes, it shows that Lori did move from Arizona to Rexburg. And it shows that she is listed both JJ and Tylee to be living with her. And on the second page, you see here that,
If you're going to point something out, if you
Yes.
can point it with a.
sorry. So her monthly rent from her previous residence in Arizona, she stated the reason for leaving. Lori writes, she is bringing children to attend BYUI. My daughter graduated high school at 16 and wants to attend BYUI, but is too young to live alone, so I'm coming with her and relocating.
Okay.
And then below that, you see, as far as her income, she lists Social Security. So all of the Social Security benefits, Lori's claiming just as her sole income.
All right. And was there an amount that she gave for that?
There was. So there's $5,740. And if you combine all three deposits, the one for Lori, the one for JJ and Tylee's, it arrives at this amount right here.
Thank you. Detective, we've been talking about Lori Vallow and Tylee Ryan's financial accounts. Did you review any other financial accounts as part of your investigation?
I did.
What other financial accounts did you review?
Reviewed the financial information for Alex Cox, Lori Vallow's brother.
Right. Earlier, you showed a document listing out Lori Vallow and Tylee Ryan's different accounts that you had prepared for demonstrative purposes. Did you prepare a similar account for Alex Cox's financial documents?
I did.
Did you do that to aid the jury in understanding which documents or which financial documents pertain to Alex Cox?
Yes,
And did you do that in preparation for your testimony?
I did.
Can you look at State's Exhibit 69? Is this the same demonstrative list that you've been speaking about?
Yes,
Your Honor, for demonstrative purposes only, I'd ask the state's, or is this a true and accurate representation of the list you created?
yes,
Your Honor, I'd ask that for demonstrative purposes only, that State's Exhibit 69 be entered into evidence.
There won't be an objection, Judge.
Okay, without objection, then Exhibit 69 is admitted.
May I publish?
You may.
Detective, can you describe for the jury what is on State's Exhibit 69?
so this is a financial account attribution list I created for Alex Cox. As we were looking into the whereabouts of JJ and Tylee, we went through Alex's financial information, and this is the information that we narrowed down through reviews that are pertinent to the investigation. So you see here, the first one is the Desert Financial Credit Union. This was Alex's everyday account. He was receiving paychecks on a regular basis. He was very responsible in his account and his spending. He had a fairly decent, well, decent for me at least, I'm sorry, but for as far as his account balance. So he was not reckless in any way in this account. You see the joint credit card that we just spoke to with Lori, and these are the cards that were associated with that. Alex also had a Mercury MasterCard, and he had a personal account from Wells Fargo, and from that he had 2 cards on Capital One credit cards. And then towards the end, after they moved to Idaho, he ended up opening up a account at the Mountain America Credit Union in Rexburg.
Thank you. Detective, can you look at State's Exhibit 70? And Your Honor, again, State's Exhibit 70 is an affidavit of a custodian of records. State's Exhibit 70 has 2 subparts, A and B. I believe it comes in by way of stipulation.
Any objection to the admission of 70 and 70A and B?
No, Judge, it comes in by way of stipulation of the parties.
All right, Exhibit 70 as well as 70A and B are all admitted.
Detective, can you look at State's Exhibit 70A? And are you familiar with that document?
I am.
What is it?
It's a consumer loan application for a 2017 Ford F-150 pickup truck that in the name of Alex Cox.
And did you review these documents as part of your investigation?
I have knowledge of them, but I was not the primary reviewer of those.
Okay. Did you provide those to another agency?
Yes. There is a second account that I did review on the next page, and it's a checking account application, then an account ending 7175 for Alex Cox, and that's his main everyday account. And I reviewed those documents.
All right. Was there anything of note to you that in that?
Yes, so as I stated earlier, Alex was very responsible, and he was very busy on this account. It would appear to be his everyday account. And he was making payments to his credit cards out of this account as well.
All right. Did those payments ever stop?
The payments did stop. So from this account, we learned that Alex had quit his job when he moved to Idaho. He was working for Heritage Environmental in Arizona, and he was receiving 2 to 3 paychecks a month. And at the end of August and beginning of September, he had quit that job and moved to Idaho. Just before he quit his job, he received a loan in the amount of $21,000 in August. I believe it was August 8th. And from then on, he had no income, no regular income, as he was not employed that we could tell.
All right. Is there anything of significance in terms of purchase history in these documents?
Yes, Alex begins to, in August, begins purchasing firearms and firearms related items with this account and the credit cards
And you said in August, what year was that?
of 2019.
All right. And is that purchase history different from the rest of this account?
Sorry, I don't understand your question.
The purchase history of firearms, is that something consistent through that account or just starting in August?
It just started in and around August.
You mentioned that he received a loan.
Yes.
Was there a reason listed for that?
Yes, on the loan application, it listed for medical reasons.
All right. And the amount of the loan was $21,000, correct?
21,000 that he received, yes.
Throughout your investigation, did you find any significant medical expenditures in his financial documents between the time of that loan and the time he died in December?
No.
All right. Can you look at State's Exhibit 70B? And what is that?
70B is just a list of monthly statements dated from 2/21 of 2019. I believe through November of 2019.
And is that were those the documents you were relying on for your most recent testimony?
Yes.
Okay. Detective, can you look at State's Exhibit 71? And Your Honor, State's Exhibit 71 comes in by way of custodian of records affidavit. So I believe it's stipulated to, and just has one subpart A.
Any objection to the admission of 71 and 71A?
No, Judge.
Very well. 71 and 71A are both admitted.
Detective, do you recognize State's Exhibit 71?
Yes, it's the custodian of records.
Oh, and I'm sorry. Can you look at State's Exhibit 71A?
Yes, this is the loan application for through Lending Club for the $21,000 loan for
And-
Alex.
And was this the loan we were talking about for medical expenditures?
Yes.
Your Honor, may I have a brief sidebar?
Yes. All right, council, we just discussed some scheduling there. We are going to take a mid-morning break at this time. That will be a 30-minute break. We'll come back on and continue until noon, and we'll plan on taking our hour lunch at noon. And then as regular schedule, a mid-afternoon break after that, go till 3:30. Today will be our schedule moving forward. So at this time, we will take our mid-morning break.
All rise, please. So just
Thank you. Please be seated. We don't have anything today on Zoom either. There's no Zoom hearing, but. Okay.
All rise.
Your Honor, the jury is present and accounted for.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Bailiff. Please be seated. Okay, we're back on the record on KCR 2221-1623, State of Idaho versus Chad Guy Daybell. The state's continuing with its case in chief. Detective Considis is on the stand and has previously been sworn and it's under oath. Continuing with direct examination, the court would also note we had previously turned the blinds down for better resolution on the monitor, but had requests from the jurors to have the windows open. And so they're open and hopefully we get good enough resolution on the monitor to go forward. We'll still dim lights when we're showing exhibits. And if it's clear enough, I'm fine to have the windows remain open. So Mr. Wood, if you'd like to continue with direct, you can do that at this time.
Thank you, Your Honor. Detective, can you look at State's Exhibit 72? And 72A? And Your Honor, I just represent, this is 72 is a business record affidavit and 72A is the one subpart. And I believe it comes in by way of stipulation.
All right, exhibit 72 has been offered as well as 72A without objection. Those exhibits are admitted.
Detective, do you recognize States Exhibit 72 and 72A?
I do.
What are they?
72 is the affidavit of record for Credit Shop, which is the parent company for Mercury for a credit card application for Alex Cox.
And did you serve a warrant or subpoena to obtain these records?
I did.
Did you review these records?
I have some knowledge of this account, but I was not the primary reviewer.
Did you provide these records to another law enforcement agency?
I did.
All right.
Michael Douglas, forensic accountant at the FBI.
All right, thank you. Can you look at States Exhibit 73 and 73A? Again, Your Honor, States Exhibit 73 has a business records affidavit. I believe it comes in by way of stipulation.
That is correct, Judge.
Okay, so 73 and 73A are each admitted as well.
Detective, are you familiar with this document?
I am.
What are these documents?
This is 73 is a business records declaration for a Wells Fargo account in the name of Alex Cox for a Visa credit card.
And did you serve a warrant or subpoena to obtain these records?
I did.
Did you review them?
I have some knowledge of them, but I was not the primary reviewer of this account.
Did you provide these documents to Mike Douglas at the FBI as well?
I did.
Thank you. Can you look at States Exhibit 74? And again, Your Honor, States Exhibit 74 is a business records affidavit and with one or two subparts. I believe it comes in by way of stipulation. Detective, are you familiar with States Exhibit 74?
I am.
All right. Your Honor, may that be admitted.
Any objection?
No objection.
Exhibit 74 and 74A and B are admitted.
And are you familiar with these documents?
Yes.
What are they?
It's a declaration of records from Capital One for two applications of credit cards in the name of Alex Cox.
And did you review, did you obtain these through warrant or subpoena?
I did.
Did you review these records?
I have knowledge of them, but I was not the primary reviewer of these.
And does that apply to 74A and B? You
Yes.
provided those to Mike Douglas?
Yes.
Thank you. Detective, can you look at States Exhibit 75? And Your Honor, States Exhibit 75 is a business records affidavit with one subpart. I believe it comes in by way of stipulation.
Any objection to 75 and 75A being admitted?
No, Judge.
All right, 75A and 75 are each admitted.
Detective, are you familiar with these records?
I am.
Did you obtain those through warrant or subpoena?
I did.
Did you provide those documents to Mike Douglas at the FBI?
I did.
Detective, is it fair to say that you reviewed Alex Cox's financial information, specifically the Desert Financial?
Yes.
Did you prepare a demonstrative chart to show a timeline of its financial records and spending?
Yes.
Did you do that in anticipation of testimony today?
Yes.
Would you look at States Exhibit 86? Is this the chart you've been preparing, that you spoke of preparing?
Yes.
And did you do that to aid the jury in understanding the timeline of some of Alex Cox's banking and events in this case?
Yes.
And is that document a true and accurate representation of what you created?
Yes.
Your Honor, for demonstrative purposes, the state would ask that State's Exhibit 86 be entered into evidence.
No objection, Judge.
Very well. State's Exhibit 86 is entered.
And may I publish?
You may.
Detective, can you walk the jury through this timeline and chart you've created?
Yes, this is the financial timeline for Alex Cox. Again, it's Lori Vallow's brother who moved to Idaho with Lori and Tylee JJ. So this is dated from February 7th, 2019 through December 12th. And December 12th is the day that Alex died. So that's where it stops. But you see in the dark blue part of the timeline, you have the financial credit union 7175. He's got a steady income, regular monthly deposits from his place of work, the Heritage Environment. Everything, I can reiterate, he was kind of responsible in the sense that he was paying his bills and paying on his credit cards. In August 9th, he applies for the $21,000 loan and receives it, and it's deposited into this account. So from August 10th through October 24th, you see here that Alex makes 46 transactions for gun-related purchases. Again, this covers the accounts and the credit card, the financial account, but he's paying on the credit cards through this account. So at the end of August, he quits his job and they move to Idaho with Lori and the kids, and he's got no job, no regular income. And then we see here on November 13th, he opens up the Mountain America Credit Union in Rexburg. And then a short time later, he dies on December 12th.
Thank you. Detective, as part of your investigation, did you review financial documents for Chad Daybell?
I have some knowledge, but I was not the primary reviewer for Mr. Daybell's accounts.
All right, but did you obtain any documents for Mr. Daybell?
I did.
Are some of those documents ones that you testified to earlier that you handed off to the FBI to look at?
Yes.
Okay. But you helped write subpoenas and warrants and obtained financial documents for Mr. Daybell?
I did.
So far, you've provided 2 lists of financial account attribution lists, one for Lori and Tylee and one for Alex Cox. Did you prepare a similar list for the documents you received for Chad Daybell?
Yes.
Did you prepare that in anticipation of testifying today?
Yes.
Can you look at State's Exhibit 76? Did you prepare that document to aid the jury in understanding which accounts exist that contain financial information that you looked at for Chad Daybell?
I did.
And is that a true and accurate representation of the list you created?
Yes.
Did you do that to aid the jury in understanding the documents that you were looking at?
Yes.
Your Honor, I'd ask for demonstrative purposes that State's Exhibit 76 be admitted.
No objection, Judge.
Very well. Exhibit 76 is admitted.
And may I publish?
You may.
So here's the financial account attribution list I created for Mr. Daybell. His main everyday account we learned was from the Mountain America Credit Union. It was a joint account with his wife, Tammy, and the 3007 and the 3301 are 2 separate accounts within the Mountain America system that they had. And the second account here was for Spring Creek Book Company, and that's the company that Mr. Daybell owns and with his publishing and selling of books. And there was 2 credit cards assigned to this account, one card ending in 3136 and one card that was issued to Tammy, and the last 4 numbers were 7171. After that, we have a First Hawaiian Bank personal account that Mr. Daybell opened, and that account ends in 9185. There's a Citibank credit card that Mr. Daybell opened an account with. There's also a Visa card associated with the Wells Fargo account. And the last one on the list here was a Capital One account with two cards issued, one to Chad and one to his wife, Tammy.
All right. Detective, can you look at State's Exhibit 77? Your Honor, again, State's Exhibit 77 is a certificate of authenticity of business records, and there are subparts A through I. I believe this comes in by way of stipulation.
77 and 77A.
A through I.
I have been offered. Any objection?
No, Judge.
Very well. Exhibits 77 as well as 77A through I are all admitted.
Detective, can you look at State's Exhibit 77A?
Yes.
What is that document?
It is a monthly statement associated to account 3301 for, say, Spring Creek Book Company.
Okay, and did you review this document?
I have some knowledge of it, but I was not the primary reviewer.
Did you serve a warrant or subpoena to obtain this?
Yes,
Is this a document that you handed off to Mike Douglas as well?
yes.
All right. Can you look at State 77B? And what is that?
This is a Mountain America Credit Union account 3007 for Chad Daybell.
And is it a joint account?
It's a joint account for Chad and his wife Tammy.
All right. And I'm sorry, in State's Exhibit 77A, who was that account for?
Oh, it was both for Chad and Tammy as well.
And was it involved with Spring Creek Book Company?
Yes,
Do you know what Spring Creek Book Company is?
it's the business Mr. Daybell owns for publishing and selling of books.
Judge, I'm going to object. I think that's a mischaracterization.
Response, Mr. Wood?
I think the officer testified to his knowledge. I don't see how that's a mischaracterization.
Why do your native objection, Judge?
All right, well, I'm just going to overrule the objection. You can go into that on cross though,
Thank
Mr.
you.
Fryer.
Detective, can you look at State's Exhibit 78? Your Honor, State's Exhibit 78 is again an affidavit of a custodian of records with one subpart 78A. I believe this comes in by way of stipulation.
All right, 78 and 78A are offered. Any objection?
No, Judge.
Very well, both are admitted, 78 as well as 78A.
And Detective, what is State's Exhibit 78A?
It is a account application in the name of Chad Daybell for First Hawaiian Bank.
And did you receive this document by warrant or subpoena?
Yes,
Did you provide this to the FBI?
I did.
Thank you. And can you look at State's Exhibit 79? And Your Honor, 79 is a custodian of records affidavit, one subpart. I believe it comes in by way of stipulation.
That's correct, Judge.
Very well, then as offered, exhibits 79 and 79A are both admitted.
Detective, what is State's Exhibit 79 and 79A?
79 is an affidavit records for Citibank for a credit card in the name of Chad Daybell.
Did you receive this document by warrant or subpoena?
Yes,
Did you provide it to Mike Douglas of the FBI?
I did.
Can you look at State's Exhibit 80? Your Honor, again, I know this is a bit monotonous, but this is State's Exhibit 80 is the business record declaration or affidavit with one subpart. I believe it comes in by way of stipulation.
Any objection?
There's, Judge, it's in by stipulation.
Okay, well, they're only in once I admit them. So exhibit 80 is admitted and 80A is also admitted. And I appreciate counsel in going through, making sure our record is clear.
Detective, can you look at State's Exhibit 80 and 80A?
Yes.
What are those documents?
80 is a business declarations from Wells Fargo. 80A is a Visa card for Wells Fargo for Mr. Daybell.
All right. And did you receive those records by warrant or subpoena?
Yes,
Did you provide them to Mike Douglas of the FBI?
yes.
And Detective, do you have State's Exhibit? Can you look at State's Exhibit 81 and 81A? Again, 81 is a business records affidavit with one subpart. I believe it comes in by way of stipulation.
That is correct, Judge.
Very well. Exhibit 81 and 81A are both admitted.
Detective, do you recognize State's Exhibit 81A?
Yes.
What is it?
81 is a business records affidavit for Capital One. And the subdocument 81A is the monthly statements for purchases on the Capital One credit card for Chad and Tammy Daybell.
Did you receive those by warrant or subpoena?
Yes,
Did you provide those to Mike Douglas of the FBI?
I did.
Detective, can you look at State's Exhibit 88? And Your Honor, 88 is an affidavit of records custodian. It has one subpart. I believe it comes in by way of stipulation.
That's correct, Judge.
All right. And that was exhibit 88, correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Sorry,
Judge.
And 88A are
And
both.
88A.
All right, thank you.
Detective, are you familiar with State's Exhibit 88?
Yes.
What is it?
88 is an affidavit of records from Julie Black of Kauai Dreams Realty for an email that was sent to her.
Okay. And what is State's Exhibit 88A?
88A is a screenshot of an email that was sent from Mr. Daybell to Kauai Dreams Realty.
Detective, how did you receive this document?
Well, I came into this document in February of 2020. Trying to locate the kids. We monitor social media sites and came across this document. And so I reached out to Julie Black to see the validity of this email and whether or not it was true or not.
Go ahead. And were you able to verify with her that this was an accurate document?
Yes,
And then she sent it to you with that records of an affidavit
yes.
or affidavit custodian. What date was this email sent?
This date was sent, the email was sent on November 8th. See right here, 2019. That was about 3 days after Chad and Lori were married in Hawaii.
All right. And who sent the email?
The email address sender is chad.daybell@gmail.com.
And who is the recipient of the email?
Julie Black.
And what does can you read the body of the email?
I can. It says, we are interested in seeing this property. Would the owners be interested in leasing this property to a clean couple with no pets or children? Please let us know. Thank you.
Detective, what was of note of this document or why was this document significant to your investigation?
Well, as of November 8th in this email, it's stating that Chad and Lori have no kids. And so we're out looking for the kids, and they put this in, or Chad puts this in a body of an email saying that they don't have kids. We just found this to be odd.
And when did you receive this email? Do you recall?
It was in February of 2020.
In fact, can you look at State's Exhibit 88? I believe there's a date on the affidavit. And what was the date that the affidavit was submitted?
It was submitted on the 4th of March, 2020.
Okay. And so at this time in your investigation, had you been able to locate Tylee or JJ?
No.
And so was the significance of that to you that Chad Daybell, the husband of the children's mother, was stating they didn't have kids?
Correct.
Judge, that's argumentative.
It's a late objection, so it's overruled. It was answered.
Detective, do you have State's Exhibit 90?
Yes.
Your Honor, again, State's Exhibit 90 is an affidavit of business records. There are two parts, 90A and B. I believe it comes in by way of stipulation.
Any objection to 90, 90A, and 90B?
No, Judge.
All right, all three of those exhibits, 90, 90A, 90B, are admitted.
Detective, can you look at 90A?
Okay.
What is that document?
This is a subscriber information for Cable One. It's one of the online or cable services that's offered in Rexburg. It is named for Lori Vallow, September 3rd of 2019.
And is there an address associated with that?
Yes, it shows 565 Pioneer Road, apartment number 175.
Right. And is there an email associated with that?
Yes, the email listed as lollytime@icloud.com.
Detective, why were these documents of interest to you in your investigation?
Well, as we learned on her rental application when she was moving from Arizona to Idaho, she filled out the lease for apartment number 107. So when the warrants that were served, we found her to be living in apartment 175. The other area of that we'd like to inquiry about was there's a IP address that's associated with this account as well.
And why was that of note to you?
Well, later in our investigation, we found that Lori was in possession of Tylee's cell phone, and Venmo purchases were being made from this cell phone through this IP address.
And so could you track those Venmo payments through that IP address?
Yes.
And when you look at States Exhibit 90B, what is that document?
This is Cable One subscriber information in the name of Alex Cox for 565 Pioneer Road, apartment 107. And this was generated on September 11th of 2019.
And what was significant to that document in your investigation?
This was the apartment that Lori was originally assigned to be living out of. They had switched apartments.
Right. Detective, can you look at States Exhibit 91? Again, Your Honor, 91 is an affidavit of a records custodian with one subpart 91A. I believe this comes in by way of stipulation.
That's correct, Judge.
Very well. Exhibit 91 and 91A are both admitted.
Detective, do you recognize States Exhibit 91A?
I do.
What is it?
This is a letter from Windstream Services stating that we were looking for information of a Venmo that was sent from an IP address off of Tylee's phone. And so when researching the IP address, it came back to Windstream Communications. And so we reached out to them and said, do you have any information in regards to Tylee Ryan? And they said that they didn't. They just offer IP addresses or static IP addresses. And this was the IP address that we were inquiring about was issued to a residence in hotel in Kansas City, Missouri.
So what led you to look for these documents?
Again, we were looking back on Tylee's BBVA accounts. We know that she wasn't receiving her regular deposits, and the money that was being deposited into her account was from Lori's account that Tylee had no control over. So she was sending money, transferring it into Tylee's account, and then it would be Venmoed off almost immediately. And so following up on those types of transactions, that's how we came to know this particular IP address.
All right. And so just to be clear, a Venmo from Tylee's account was sent through this IP address.
Correct.
Right. And do you know where this Windstream Services is located?
They're located in Missouri.
And did it give a date for that transaction?
Did
that-
October 10th of 2019.
Okay, so the Venmo went through that IP address on October 10th,
Correct.
2019 in Missouri.
Correct.
And can you look at States Exhibit 92? Again, Your Honor, 92 is an affidavit of a records custodian with a subpart 92A. I believe it comes in by way of stipulation.
That is correct, Judge.
All right, 92 and 92A are both admitted.
Detective, what is States Exhibit 92A?
92A is a folio bill from the residence in Kansas City Airport, located in Kansas City, Missouri.
And what was significant about this document to you?
This was the location of the IP address that was given on Tylee's cell phone on that date.
Okay. And does this document identify any individual for renting a room?
Yes. The room was purchased by Melanie Boudreau, who is Lori Vallow's niece.
All right. And do you know if anyone else was with her?
We know that Lori traveled to Kansas City with Melanie on this date. They flew from Phoenix to Missouri on the 10th and returned to Phoenix on the 12th. And we can confirm that with the airline reservations.
All right. And what was significant about that trip to you in your investigation?
That Lori was in Missouri using Tylee's phone and Tylee wasn't there.
Okay. Were you able to verify through flight records where they flew from?
I did.
Where did they fly from? Bailiff? Where did they fly from?
They flew from Phoenix to Missouri, according to the flight records.
And so on that folio, it only stated the two people.
The two people, yes.
So there was no Tylee Ryan on that folio,
No. And
and
it
no
shows,
JJ Vallow.
no, and it shows that the room was paid for by Melanie.
Okay. Detective, we're gonna shift gears a little bit. As part of your investigation, did you ever engage in any type of search for pharmaceutical records?
Yes.
What type of search did you do?
In cases such as missing persons, we'll reach out if we have an idea of where the person we were looking for is living or has lived, and we will reach out to the state as a resource to the state pharmaceutical board and request if any prescriptions were filled that may lead us to a location that or an area that they may be in.
And did you do that for, who did you do a search for?
I did a search for JJ. I did a search for Tylee. There was one we searched for Melanie Boudreau as well, and also Lori.
And how do you go about doing a search for pharmaceutical records?
We'll reach out to the pharmaceutical board in the state and submit a request and let them know the circumstances, and they will then submit the information to you.
All right. And does each state do that the same?
Same premise, but they're all a little bit different. But we reached out to the state of Arizona, the state of Montana, and state of Hawaii, and the state of Idaho.
Why Montana?
Well, early on, as this case was unfolding at the very beginning, we were receiving tips, and one of the tips called in. They thought maybe JJ and Tylee were being held in a compound in Montana somewhere. So we just called upon that to check on that. And also that Melanie Boudreau at the time was living directly next door in apartment 174. So that's why her name was run as well.
Detective, can you look at States Exhibit 94 and 94A? Your Honor, States Exhibit 94 is a records affidavit of records custodian. I may just have a very brief sidebar.
Yes.
All right, I apologize, Detective. Can you look at States Exhibit 94 and 94A? And I can't remember if this was admitted or not.
Not yet.
Okay. Your Honor, again, 94 is an affidavit of a records custodian. 94 is the subpart. I believe this comes in by way of stipulation.
That's correct, Judge.
Very well. 94 and 94A are both admitted.
Detective, what was States Exhibit 94A?
These are prescription monitoring program checks for the state of Hawaii through the Hawaii Narcotics Enforcement Division.
And did you find any records of prescriptions for J.J. Vallow in Hawaii?
I believe we did, but not in the time frame that we were requesting.
And did you find any prescriptions for Tylee Ryan?
No, I don't believe so.
You mentioned checking in Montana.
Yes.
Can you look at States Exhibit 95 and 95A? Your Honor, again, I believe that this document comes in by way of stipulation.
That's correct, Judge.
All right, Exhibit 95 and 95A both admitted.
And Detective, if you'll look at 95A, when you submitted names to these states, did you just do one name or multiple names?
We did multiple names. We knew that when we were looking through the airline records, JJ would fly under the name of Ryan, or he'd fly under the name Vallow. So we just, we would use both last names when we were searching, and researching for this.
So what was the name you searched for on this page?
JJ Ryan,
And here?
Joshua Jackson Vallow,
Here?
Joshua Jackson Ryan,
Here?
Melanie Boudreau,
On this page?
Melanie Pulowski. This would be Melanie Boudreau's current last name. She had remarried in November of 2019.
And here?
And the last here is Tylee Ryan.
Did you ever find records of Tylee Ryan traveling under a different name?
Only once, and that was on a trip to Hawaii in early 2019. She flew under Tylee Vallow one way and returned Tylee Ryan in a different on the return leg.
And Detective, did you perform that search in Idaho?
I did not. Another detective did, but the search was performed.
And are you aware if any results came in from that search?
There were no results.
All right. And any results from Arizona?
No results from Arizona, although they live down there. I was educated that Arizona only keeps track of narcotic analgesics or painkillers, opiate based drugs. That's all they keep track of. They don't do anything for any other types of medications.
Detective, can you look at States Exhibit 96? In your honor, 96 is an affidavit of a records custodian. And it has one subpart A.
Any objection to 96 and 96A being admitted?
No, Judge, thank you.
Very well, both are admitted.
Detective, can you look at States Exhibit 96A? That is. Do you recognize that document?
I do.
Did you obtain that document?
I did.
And what is it?
This is an email exchange that Lori Vallow sent to Michael Edson It's a little blurry on my screen here. If it's away, I don't have a copy in my possession. Okay, there you go.
Is that better?
Yes. This is an email sent from Lori Vallow to Mike Edson. We learned that it was a tax accountant that did Lori and Charles' taxes. And she sent an email to him asking if you'd like me to read the body, I could.
So it looks to me, Detective, like there's two emails. Can you tell which email was sent first?
I want to clarify exhibits here, Mr. Wood. Which exhibit is this being published right now?
That would be 96A.
All right. My 96A courtesy copy is the subpoena, but not the email.
Can I approach?
You may. I'll just have the bailiff provide you a copy of my courtesy copy. And if I don't, it's fine.
You're correct. Oh, well, all right, strike. What I have is consistent with what you have.
Okay, you can go ahead and publish it, Mr. Wood. It's been admitted, and it's fine if my courtesy copy is not containing that as well.
And Your Honor, we'll correct that after court.
Thank you.
Detective, all right, who's that email from again?
Michael Edson.
And are you aware of who Michael Edson is?
Yes, he was a tax accountant for Lori and Charles Vallow.
All right. And can you read the body of that email?
So the first email was sent by Lori on September 9th. It says, "Hi, Mike. This is Lori Vallow. I'm not sure if you heard, but Charles passed away in July. It's been a pretty stressful couple of months. I saw online our tax return got sent out, but it went to an old address. I moved with the kids and forwarded the mail, but I'm not sure that they will forward the tax return check. Is there some way to contact them to cancel that check and do a direct deposit? Or how would that work? Let me know when you can. Thanks, Lori."
Did he respond?
He did.
How did he respond?
He responded by email. Lori sent her email at 5:03 p.m. and he responds the same date at 6:11 p.m. Says, "Lori, I'm sorry to hear about Charles. I thought he was a great guy. If there's anything I can do to help, please don't hesitate to ask." In the interim, here is the link to the IRS to fill out a change of address form so they can send you the check up to the new address. Prayers with you, Mike.
Detective, why was this email exchange significant to your investigation?
Well, the email itself is rather benign. It's just appears to be a classic back and forth of exchanging information, but the date on the email is what was important to us, being September 9th. We recall our last known sighting of proof of life of Tylee was September 8th and September 9th. So we believe the investigation has found that Tylee was no longer living at the time of this email.
Okay. And was it significant to you that was just one day after her last known sighting?
Yes.
Detective, can you look at State's Exhibit 98? And Your Honor, this is 98 is a certificate of authenticity with one subpart 98A. I believe it comes in by way of stipulation.
Very well. 98 and 98A are both admitted.
Detective, can you look at State's Exhibit 98A? And can you describe what it is?
98A is airline information that we received via search warrant for 2 American airlines. We requested several names in the warrant to see if we could find out whether or not Tylee or JJ were on a plane somewhere during our search for them.
And these are the American Airline records.
Correct.
And did you find any history of Tylee Ryan or JJ Vallow or Lori Vallow on these documents?
There were several flights for Lori during the period of time we requested from January 1st of 2019 through 2020. And there was only 2 flights that were listed for Tylee, and one was in February and one was in March, and they were both round trips to Hawaii. But there were no flights for JJ.
So, no, I'm sorry, did you say no flights for JJ?
No flights for JJ on American Airlines.
And what was the time frame in which you asked for these records?
January 1st of 2019 through the end of the year.
And do you recall why that was?
Well, we knew that they had moved up to Idaho in September, but we wanted to see if there was any regular places that they went to or visited that we may reach out to another agency or something to try to find and locate JJ and Tylee.
All right. And so to clarify, you stated you found 2 flights for Tylee Ryan to Hawaii
Yes,
and multiple flights for Lori Vallow.
correct. And also Chad Daybell.
Oh, okay. And what of those flights of Lori Vallow are of interest to your investigation?
Well, the biggest one was in and around the time of that Tammy Daybell was killed.
Grounds. Sustain.
Um,
I'll strike just the last part of the response saying Tammy was killed.
all right. Are you aware of what day Tammy Daybell died?
Yes, it was the 19th of October, 2019.
All right. And so one of these flights of Lori Vallow coincided with that death. Is that what you're saying?
Yes. And there was another flight as well that was in and around that time that was pertinent to us.
And what flight was that?
That was the flight in early November where Chad and Lori flew to Hawaii to get married. They were married on November 5th, and they flew out on the 3rd of November.
And that was on these American Airlines documents.
Correct.
Okay. Detective, can you look at State's Exhibit 100? Your Honor, State's Exhibit 100 is a business records affidavit with one subpart A. I believe it comes in by way of stipulation.
Any objection to the admission of 100 or 100A? All right, both are admitted.
Detective, State's Exhibit 100, what is it?
It is business records affidavit for Southwest Airlines.
And what is 100A?
This are airline information reservations for Southwest Air.
And did you find anything in these records that were pertinent to your investigation?
We found that Lori and Charles traveled on this airline through 2019, and we learned that JJ had flown 6 times, but that was all prior to them moving to Idaho.
Okay. And do you know what those flights were?
They were flights from Phoenix to Houston, where Charles Vallow lived at the time, and JJ would fly back and forth between Phoenix and Houston to visit.
Okay. And did you find any other records on Southwest Airlines that were pertinent to your investigation?
Just give me a moment. I'm not seeing anything for Southwest Air.
Primarily those flights for JJ Vallow.
Correct.
Did you find any flights for Tylee Ryan on Southwest?
I don't believe we did.
Detective, do you have State's Exhibit 99? And again, Your Honor, State's Exhibit 99 is a business records declaration with one subpart A.
I do not have that.
Your Honor, made the witness be handed a copy.
All right, I don't believe the court has a courtesy copy of that one either.
Can I ask counsel? Okay,
You can still,
I guess, can you show it to counsel in the court and then?
I'll just do some light reading, Judge.
very well.
Judge, can counsel and I approach just briefly?
Yes.
And I'm sorry, what were those dates?
Dates were for April 26th through the 29th of 2019.
And Detective, do you have State's Exhibit 305A? And 305? And Your Honor, 305 is a certification of records. I believe this comes in by way of stipulation with one part, 305A.
That's correct, Judge.
All right, both 305 and 305A are admitted.
Detective, do you recognize State's Exhibit 305A?
Yes, this is airline reservation information from United Airlines.
And who is it for and what does this document tell you?
This document tells me that the passenger on the reservation is for Chad Daybell.
And does this coincide with the last document you looked at in time?
Yes,
And does it say who purchased the flight?
this flight was purchased by Lori Vallow through her BBVA account.
But the person flying was Mr. Daybell.
Correct.
Detective, we've talked a lot about finances and travel. Looking at, is it fair to say you've reviewed several travel records pertaining to individuals involved in this case?
Yes,
And did you have to look at a large amount of documents to do so?
yes,
Detective, in aid of the jury understanding the travel dates that are important to your investigation, did you prepare a timeline that shows the travel of the different parties?
yes.
And what records did you use to create that timeline?
We used airline records from Allegiant, Delta, American, United.
And did you prepare that document in aid of your testimony today?
Yes,
Do you believe it would aid the jury in understanding the dates
yes,
and the places traveled to?
yes.
Detective, can you look at State's Exhibit 303? Detective, is this that document that you prepared in aid of the jury?
Yes,
Is it a true and accurate representation of what you prepared?
yes,
Your Honor, for demonstrative purposes, the state would move to admit Exhibit 303 into the record.
For demonstrative purposes, there's no objection, Judge.
All right, Exhibit 303 is admitted.
Detective, I'm going to turn your attention to the first page of 303. And can you walk the jury through this timeline?
sure. This is a travel timeline for Chad and Lori Daybell. This first box on top of the timeline, right before January, shows that Chad and Lori met on the 26th of October in 2018. So this starts in January of 2019. So in January, on the 6th through the 10th, Chad Daybell flies round trip from Idaho Falls to Phoenix, and the flight was booked in December of 2018 by Mr. Daybell using the Chad Daybell Gmail address, the same one he used for the Kauai Dreams Realty. As we move to March, we see that Lori Vallow booked a round trip flight from Phoenix Mesa to Idaho Falls, but she canceled this flight on the 26th for unknown reasons. But she ended up booking a flight and flew to Hawaii for this time frame. In the middle to late March, on the 19th through the 21st, Chad Daybell flew from round trip from Idaho Falls to Phoenix Mesa And the flight was booked on the 13th of March, 2019 by Lori Vallow. And this is her Lolly Time Forever iCloud email associated with that account. In April, Lori flies one way from Phoenix Mesa to Idaho Falls. The flight was booked on the 29th, so it was fairly quick. And then she flies one way back to, on the next one up here, she flies back from Idaho Falls to Phoenix. And that was booked on the 3rd of April. Again, and she booked her flight. On April 26th, this is the one we just talked about. Chad flew round trip from Idaho Falls to Houston, Texas, with a stop in Denver. It was booked by Lori Vallow and paid for by her BBVA bank account. Mr. Daybell did use his Spring Creek credit card to pay for an extra baggage for the flight. As we move over into May, we see Lori flew one way from Phoenix Mesa to Provo, Utah, and the flight was booked by Lori. And then up here we have the date of July 11th, 2019. That's the day that Charles Vallow died.
Can you walk the jury through the second page of that timeline?
Okay.
Try and zoom in a little bit.
One thing I want you to take notice of, if you could please, is that after Charles Vallow dies, Lori flies under the name of Lori Ryan the rest of the year. I think she booked a flight a day or so after Charles died, but still used the name Vallow, but everything else is Lori Ryan. So in August, you see up here the timeline, they're moving to Idaho. And then late August, Lori flies up a round trip from Phoenix Mesa to Idaho Falls, and she books her flight. And Melanie Boudreau, and that's Lori's niece, she was also on this trip. We believe that this is the signing of the rental lease just prior to them moving up. You see here on the timeline as we go on September 8th, it's the last known sighting of Tylee Ryan. We move over to the 22nd. That's our last known sighting of JJ. So in October 8th through the 13th, Lori Ryan flies a round trip from Idaho Falls to Phoenix Mesa. And this is the trip where she took to Missouri, which we had the Venmo used from the Missouri hotel. What's significant about this date is this is the day before Tammy Daybell had an incident where she was shot at and reported to police.
Judge, I'm going to object at this point at the characterization.
I'll sustain it as to that final statement and strike that part of the witness response. Mr. Wood, if you'd ask another question, I believe we're just getting into a total narrative at this point as well.
I understand it, Your Honor. After October 9th, what was the next event that took place?
Lori flies round trip from Las Vegas to Kauai. The date of the 17th of October is just before Tammy Daybell was found dead on the 19th. She was scheduled to return on the 21st on this flight. As you move over to the 24th of October, she flies one way from Phoenix to Idaho Falls after flying back from Hawaii. Now down here we have on the 23rd, just to give you a sense of where on the timeline things falls, that Tammy Daybell had her funeral service in Rexburg on the 23rd. As we move to early November, Chad and Lori fly round trip from Salt Lake City to Kauai. Chad flies from Salt Lake City. Lori, we believe, drove a vehicle down to Arizona and then met up with Chad in Southern California. There was a family trip that Chad took with his kids to California during this time. But But what was significant to us is that Chad booked this flight just 5 days after the funeral service for Tammy Daybell. Continuing,
Well, Detective, I actually want to ask you a question. Um,
Mr.
All right.
Wood, I'd like to take a look at the time as well. I don't know how much longer you've got on the timeline, but
you got one more page, Your Honor?
okay, let's do
And-
that. And it'll take longer.
Okay. Detective, this last box, you'll see my pen pointing at, that's marked 11/3/2019. Does that coincide at all with what your investigation shows about the marriage of Chad Daybell to Lori Vallow?
yes, they departed for Hawaii and were married in Hawaii on the 5th of November.
And then one last page. Detective, what's marked in the first two boxes?
So we have here Lori and Chad flew one way from Hawaii to Phoenix. And below that, they arrived in Idaho Falls on Allegiant Airlines. On the 28th, Chad flew one way from Salt Lake. And again, I believe I may have mixed up on the last page, but Lori was scheduled to be on this flight, but we believe she drove her car to Arizona. His box on the reservation was marked flown and hers was left empty, so it was designated to open. So, and this was also a trip that was a family trip that Chad paid for his kids and their spouses to fly to California to have over the Thanksgiving holiday. There was no record of Tylee or JJ on this trip at all.
Now, Detective, you had mentioned a trip earlier. Is it possible that this was the trip you were talking about?
Yes.
Okay. And then the last box.
The last box is Chad and Lori flew one way from LAX to Hawaii where they took up residence.
Okay.
The
And then
last, I'm sorry, then the
there's-
last
Yes, there's one more box. Can you,
box on the top of the timeline is June 9th, and that's when we found JJ and Tylee.
all right. Your Honor, I believe now would be time to break.
Okay, we will go ahead and take the lunch recess at this time. We'll plan on that being right around an hour. So just shortly after 1 o'clock, we'll try to get started again, and go through the afternoon with another break then.
All rise, please.
Okay,